Islam is one of the most misunderstood religions. Many foreigners consider Islam intolerant, radical, and supportive of terrorist-style violence. This is what is always pinned on adherents of Islam. These accusations are even more prevalent in Islamic minority countries, so Muslims are ostracized there. Here we will discuss 5 world figures who used to believe that Islam was a religion that caused chaos in the world. But lately, these persistent haters of Islam are actually interested in the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. They changed their old beliefs to fully embrace Islam and recognize the oneness of God. Here's what their stories are like. 1. Yusufists. Yusufists is an American convert to Islam. And you could even say that he used to be one of those people who suffered from Islamophobia. ESTS was born into a devout Christian family in Texas, USA, where his family had built churches and schools for generations. His curiosity about Christianity made him want to visit other churches in America. He has been to Methodist, Episcopal, Nazareth, Agape, Presbyterian, and other churches. Not only that, ESTS also studied other religions such as Hinduism, Judaism, and Buddhism, but he never wanted to study Islam. ESTS had also believed that Muslims were cube worshippers in the middle of the desert and also people who enjoyed violence. In 1991, ESTS started a business, which led him to travel abroad. The first country he visited was Egypt. In Egypt, ESTS met the Muslims there. One thing that came to his mind at that time about Muslims was that ESTS could not believe that he had to deal with the person he hated so much, the Muslim. To ESTS' surprise, as they talked, it turned out that the Muslims there claimed to believe in the truth of the gospel and had great respect for Jesus. They engaged in an intimate conversation between several people, and finally the Muslim took ESTS to visit the mosque. Finally, guidance came to ESTS. Then ESTS embraced Islam, which was followed by his wife, children, and father-in-law. ESTS then studied Islam in Egypt, Morocco, and Turkey. Since 2006, Yusuf ESTS has appeared regularly on television, as well as on the Islam Channel, based in the English. 2. Arnold van Doorn. Arnold van Doorn was the producer of Fitna, a movie that insulted the Prophet Muhammad, which was released in 2008. Surprisingly, the Dutch anti-Islam activist converted to Islam in early 2013. He even performed the Hajj pilgrimage for the first time after 9 months of saying the Shahada. He said he got peace in life after becoming a Muslim. The news of Arnold van Doorn becoming a Muslim went viral in the Western media at the time. Before becoming a convert, Arnold van Doorn was the former deputy chairman of the Dutch Freedom Party, led by Geert Wilders, a Dutch politician famous for his anti-Islam movement. But after studying Islam, Doorn finally converted to Islam. And he made the leap of faith. Doorn is a polite and gentle man. He believes that Islamophobia, or discrimination against Islam and Muslims in Europe, comes from malicious media and government efforts to present a dark image of Islam. He even says that if people in Europe knew how beautiful and wise Islam is, they would all convert to Islam. The more I read the Quran, the more I am convinced that Islam is a truly beautiful and wise religion, says Arnold van Doorn. Since he converted to Islam, his former colleagues in his party have never been in contact with Doorn. I don't know why. When I left the party, I was written off, said Doorn in an interview with the New Muslim news agency. Three, Daniel Strike. This member of the Swiss People's Party used to be a popular Islam hater. Daniel Strike strongly opposed the construction of mosques in his country around the 1990s. Daniel Strike is a devout Christian. He was raised with Christian teachings, and as a child, once aspired to become a priest. But when he was a teenager, his intentions changed. He began to love politics, and without hesitation, he plunged directly into becoming a member of the famous party in Switzerland. This Swiss People's Party is not just any party. It consists of scholars, scientists, students, and activists. All of them are not Muslims. This party is the #1 opponent of the spread of Islam in Switzerland. And Daniel Strike most often calls for the closure of mosques throughout this brown country. In his efforts to remove Islam from Switzerland, this man instead studied the Quran and Islam. He hoped that by understanding the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, he would be able to undermine the faith of the Muslims. But God is great. What happened was that he became fascinated with this religion of Rahmatan lil Alamin. The further Daniel Strike studied Islam, the more immersed he was in the beauty of the heavenly religion. He finally converted to Islam. I got many differences when studying Islam. This religion gave me logical answers to life's questions that were so important, and I never found the answers in my previous religion, said Daniel Strike. 4. Bilal Phillips. Abu Amina Bilal Phillips, whose real name is Dennis Bradley Phillips, is a man of Jamaican descent. He spent his childhood in Canada and grew up in Jamaican music culture. Therefore, before embracing Islam, Phillips made music his livelihood. Born in Jamaica on January 6, 1946, Phillips has traveled to many countries to play music, including Malaysia and Indonesia. In the 1960s, after visiting several Muslim-majority countries, Phillips became interested in studying Islam. When he returned to his home country, Phillips decided to study Islam intensively by discussing it with Muslim scholars there. A few months later, Phillips uttered 2 sentences of Shahada precisely in 1972. Then he stopped making music and chose to study Islam in depth. In the 1990s, when the Gulf War was raging, Phillips worked at the Saudi Arabian Ministry of Religious Affairs. When the United States Army was based there, Phillips was chosen to teach them about Islam. Eventually, around 3,000 American soldiers decided to convert to Islam. 5. Pierre VOGLE. He was a professional boxer. Started his professional boxing at the age of 22 and only fought for 2 years. He competed a total of 7 times, all of which ended in victory. Although fairly short, does not reduce the horror value of the fighter. His sincerity in embracing Islam was once told when he felt anxiety in life. Vogel, who once felt his life was meaningless despite being a professional boxer, found religion to be the answer for him. I started to feel uneasy and restless when I was 14 years old. I had questions about God in my heart. I finally decided to leave boxing, thinking about the true purpose of life and religion, says VOGLE. At first, he studied all religions. After that, he tried to study the Quran many times and finally decided to embrace Islam. After all this time, he studied until he had the opportunity to go to Medina to study Islam. He then broadcast Islam. His name was changed to Shalahuddin Abu Hamza. With his thunderous preaching, hundreds and even thousands of Germans embraced Islam at his hands. Well, Islamic circles, viewers, until our encounter this time, hopefully you all inspire. See you in the next video. Thank you.